mute this and that. So,
This makes me need to realize I need to finish drawing myself.
well, I was gonna use the green thing that I have of you, but
No,
it,
I wanted to use this.
I know
But
because before your old what is that dodecahedron, whatever is there, I had your little green thing that we made forever ago sitting there.
no. No, and this is just a pyramid. I just managed to get a good angle on it because I
Uh,
just used a simple reference, keeping the uh, style simple for now.
hey,
I'm
it
supposed to
works.
also have six more arms, four more arms. Gosh, I haven't worked on this in a while.
But
I got sidetracked.
because it took me a moment to get the chat on this screen, and I was like, why? And you can ask Cassie, and she was like, I don't know. Of course, she didn't know what I was doing. I was just showing her like the step by step process. Kind of bored her halfway through it. But anyway, so let's watch this. What the internet did to trash
Uh,
taste.
I was gonna say I don't know what you know about more than because I know you haven't watched all the episodes,
No, I have not.
and you
I've just
really only got into it more recently because I kept pestering you about them.
oh like I've never like I experienced Connor's stuff like standalone and then Joey's stuff standalone before I knew that they were like friends in an
You
actual group.
Do you ever watch Garnt stuff at all?
Nope, wasn't I made aware of his presence until
Which is funny because
uh,
Garnt's the one that's been here or been on YouTube the
wait.
longest.
I take that back. I think he was in a video with Joey, and they were in a trash room. Oh no, not a red
Yeah,
room.
no, where they were breaking all that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, that was one of your early videos that's getting you into them. But Garnt's been with YouTube almost since the beginning. He was one of the basically founding fathers of Anitube. Um, but Connor's how I got into the stuff in the first place because I started getting recommended his cosplay videos.
Oh, I didn't know he was a voice actor until you were like, "Hey, he's a voice actor." I was like, "What?" I mean, I just followed Connor because of the JoJo stuff.
He's done some stuff. I think he's started to get more things. I know he has something coming up, but he wouldn't say what it was in the latest, no, second to last video, Crash Chased. I don't remember.
Yeah,
But
I don't either.
that's why I wanted to be here when you saw this, because I'm sure there will be things you don't understand, but it's hilarious. And this guy put together a pretty good video for this fun, uh, pretty much Reddit madness, because most of it spawned from Reddit.
Oh, I stay away from Reddit.
Trash Taste is an anime podcast started in 2022, originally advertised to be about anime and otaku culture, but gained their popularity from covering a wide variety of casual,
I
relatable
cannot
topics
hear
ranging
that
from food and living in
because
Japan
I
to
don't have.
shedding.
I don't know how loud this is.
Well, no, it's because I don't have the stream on,
Created by its three
and you're
hosts,
not
Joey the Anime Man, C Dog
sharing your
VA, and
screen.
Giguk,
Hold on.
Trash Taste has quickly risen to the top of
What am I holding on to?
See if you can share your screen in Discord.
I can't try.
Because even if I watch the video, there's gonna be a terrible lag on top of me having to listen to myself. Ta-da! Watch stream. Um. Okay. Go ahead and press play, and I'll let you know if I hear.
YouTube as one of the biggest podcasts on the platform, exceeding all initial expectations and growing into something much bigger than the three Anitubers
Good.
had expected.
There we go. I had my
With over
Um,
1 million subscribers on
Thank you,
YouTube and
Lou.
their Patreon raking in more than $50,000 a month, the quality of their content has only been on the incline, with the scope of their content and talents increasing.
Huh. Trash taste.
I've been a fan of Trash Taste for a little while now, from covering lore to inside jokes to explaining
You ever
memes.
need to pause
I've
and
made
ask
my
a
fair share
question?
of content
Feel
on
free
Trash
to.
Taste, but I think it's
Was that a
safe to
short-haired
say that
Garn that we
none
just
of it
saw?
even comes
Mhm.
close to the sheer magnitude of what I'm about to cover.
So, go ahead and
Something
pause
that
it for a second.
exists outside of the realm.
So, I don't think he ever fully mentions it in here, but Garnt, part of his growing up, because his family's from Thailand, and at some point he went to Thailand and spent time as a monk, and you can usually pick when his pictures are from by the length of his hair, because his shaved head is going to be right after I think he came back from his few months as a monk.
Right on. My Uncle Tony did that. Because I have an aunt that's Taiwanese. So for a good moment, he was over there in Tibet, I think, and was a monk. Learned that practice and that religion, all that good stuff, and then came home. And I have 3 awesome cousins from that marriage of his.
Cool. You can continue.
No.
Unless you don't
Of
want
what is real,
Looking
something
at
that
T-Pose
slipped out
Joey
of
there.
control to such a degree that even the creators of the podcasts could no longer understand what the hell their fan base was talking about. And while I'm sure many of you are already at least aware of what I'm talking about, instead of sitting here and trying to explain it to you, it'd be much easier to just show you. Like the 20th Century Boys timeline, a timeline based on a random tangent in the podcast about Garn's past in a band, in which the boys have been friends since they were kids, and as they grew up, a psychic Connor organizes a cult of terrorists to recreate the stories of his childhood, only to be stopped by Joey and Garnt. Or the Isekai variant, in which Joey and Connor, after meeting their untimely ends during an earthquake, gets isekai'd into the world of Konosuba, based on the events of a Trash Taste After Dark TRPG stream with Demon Dice Karen, in which the boys are reincarnated as alternate anime versions of themselves. Or the Akashic Incursion. Actually, we're not ready for the Akashic Incursion yet, and
what?
I am totally ripping off of Eyepatch Wolf. And if this is your first time hearing about any of what I just told you, you're probably wondering, what the fuck am I talking about? And
Kinda.
how did the internet take a podcast about anime and
Joey, it was
shitting
really long.
and turn it
Wow,
into a
when their octopus was
multiverse,
bare.
complete with its own
Mhm.
lore, characters, plot twists, completely separate from anything the actual podcast is about? That's a question I also had to ask myself when I sat down to make this video. I mean, this shit is more complicated than the Fate timeline, and that's coming from a Fate fan. But after looking into it, hours of research, rewatching old episodes, and truly digging into what makes Trash Taste special, what I found at the end of it all was strange, bizarre, and weirdly beautiful. And I want to take you all on that
Hey.
same
Don't mind the glitching. Turns out After Effects can't render doesn't 4K footage and 3D camera motion smoothing. Oh,
What?
journey along with
the,
me.
the black
And
print.
what's a better place
No. Oh, you were reading the screen. I was looking away getting a drink.
more complicated than the
I went
Fate
back too far.
timeline, and that's coming from a
That's
Fate
okay.
fan. But after
People
looking
die if
into
they're
it,
killed.
hours of research,
Yeah.
rewatching old episodes, and truly digging into
Right
what makes Trash
about-
Taste special, what I found at the end of it all was
Like, I thought the glitching thing was a
strange,
cool
bizarre,
effect, but
and weirdly beautiful.
apparently it's
and
not
I want to-
an effect. It's
You?
just,
Oh, I see it. It's
Yeah.
right underneath the stuff.
said,
down
don't
here.
mind the glitching. Turns out After Effects can't render a dozen 4K footage. I mean, it's 3D camera motion smoothly.
And that's saying a lot because I think, because no, wait, I'm getting things mixed up. But do you know how to move through a frame by frame on YouTube? It's really fairly easy.
I have
So
forgotten.
you don't have to. You can do 5 seconds by using the arrow keys, and then using the greater than less than to go frame by frame.
Oh, gotcha.
Take you all on that same journey along with me. And what's a better place to start than from the beginning?
I mean, I haven't even read all
The
of
year
this.
is
I need to go do
2022.
that.
You and your
But I'm
friends, a group of
thankful
creators
for
you
this
have known
video.
since the start of your careers, have just moved to Japan and secured a small apartment studio on the outskirts of Tokyo. It had been years of planning, but you'd finally made it. Moving to Japan
Look at
after
their
years
old
of
studio,
pouring your
it's so
heart and
small.
soul
Is it
into making
weird?
these videos about
Pause
your
this for a
passion.
bit. Is it weird to see like all these little startups and to think, hey, that's how Rooster Teeth started?
I mean, that's how a lot of things start. You
Yeah.
just gotta.
That's how the Franco started, and I love his shit like crazy.
But to be fair, Trash Taste did have the backing of Geeks Plus to get them, get some things started. They had the idea. They were already working for Geek Plus. That's how they got to. That's why they moved to Japan in the first place.
Ah,
Geeks Plus is stationed in Japan, and they were like, "Why don't we move you here and do do things?"
makes sense. Starting.
Anime felt like a dream scenario, but this was your reality now. So you set up the studio, sit down next to two of your best friends, and start recording for what is supposed to be a 5-minute tech demo, a proof of concept for what would become the Trash Taste podcast. And you start talking, and you go on, and on, and on. And before you know it, the camera had stopped recording mid conversation. And it wasn't because you manually hit stop recording or ran out of topics to talk about, but because the camera had reached its maximum recording length of 30 minutes.
Damn.
And a realization hits you that this might be something
Stupid headset.
special.
Anyways, I still haven't
That was the
seen
story
the
behind Trash
episode
Taste
0.
Episode 0, as told by Garnt himself on his second channel. And if you paid for the $5 tier on the Trash Taste Patreon,
Wait,
you could see this
so
30-minute
do you
episode
pronounce
for
the T
yourself.
Sam, or
The
I
set
always
is
thought it was silent.
incomplete. The iconic
No,
Trash
you
Taste
pronounce
background music
it.
isn't there, and the whole episode is
It's
basically
more
one big
common
tangent
that
that you'd
people
see
mess
on any
up and say Grant instead of Garnt.
See, I have been, cause like, okay, my name Eric, E-R-I-C-H. The H is silent. I thought it was like that. I've been mispronouncing his name this entire time that I've been talking about
No.
ever.
That's all right.
Huh.
At least you know now.
Other episode
At
of
least you
Trash
were also
Taste.
sort of saying
And
it
while
right
the
instead of
contents of
calling
the
him
episode
Grant.
itself
Yeah.
aren't anything special, watching the pilot after knowing the context behind it, listening to them after knowing how much of a success Trash Taste would be is kind of surreal. That despite all of their growth, Trash Taste at its core has and always will be what it's always been. A show about three friends talking shit, sharing their thoughts, experiences, and stories with each other and with you, the audience. But after having watched enough episodes of Trash Taste, there's something else you might begin to notice. Trash Taste was always meant to be a passion project. All of the success, the fans, the memes, they had expected none of it when they had set out to start this podcast. And it's in this episode 0 where you can most clearly see it. Three creators who had no idea just how big their creation would become on the internet.
Huh?
But how could they?
It's been
Based
a
on the
wild
sheer
ride because
size
I've been
and
there
subscriber
since
counts of
almost
the
the
three boys in
beginning.
their respective channels now, it might appear obvious to most
think
people that
I-
if three big YouTubers started a
What was it,
podcast,
episode
that podcast would become
3?
big. But
Or-
if you were to take a look at other big YouTubers in similar niches who have also created their own podcasts and compare their
Ordinary
numbers,
Gamers.
you'll quickly
I
find
watch some
out
of
that
his stuff,
that's
it's funny.
not necessarily the case at all. The Yard, Some
watch
Ordinary
Charlie.
Podcast, Moist Critical's The Official Podcast. Hear it from the man himself.
Taste. Now, if you don't know, I have a podcast
Ludwig.
called The Yard.
Ludwig.
It's a pretty successful podcast, but it's
Ludwig.
nothing compared to Trash Taste, which gets
Ludwig.
millions of views every single episode.
Did you watch the
Within a week of
Ludwig
starting,
episode?
Trash Taste had
Not
already
yet.
crushed their initial goal of reaching 100,000 subscribers in a year.
Wrong
3
button.
weeks later, the figure special brought even more eyes on their podcast, bringing in the respective YouTubers'
Is that the
established
first one or the
audiences as
second
well.
one? Latest
And
one.
by the 5th episode, Trash
Which,
Taste
uh,
had
no,
already
latest
established
was
itself for
PewDiePie.
the kind of show it would be. And people
No, them
Ludwig.
going to get figures from those
Oh,
photo
that
shops
was
in
from
Japan.
the first run because that's when I started watching because I was watching Connor before they started Trash Taste before he even moved to Japan, and then I learned about it learned about Trash Taste because they did the special. I watched his video and then I watched Joey and Garn's videos, and then I watched the Trash Taste episode, which was number 4.
Is that
So
beer they're drinking?
probably
Yeah, yeah.
they drink.
Is it car and
yeah.
beer in front of Joey? And, I mean, in front of Garnt and Connor? I
Yeah.
see so much stuff, I'm like, I want to try that.
We
Anyway,
need to get a care package from Japan. You could always order Baksu or Sakurako. Those are the two that usually get advertised all the time.
I watch Team 4-Star stuff. They're sponsored by Baksu. I might drop them a thing when I have money.
Yeah.
People loved it. Before Trash Taste, we had never known Joey, Garnt, or Connor. To the majority of the world, the Anime Man, Giguk, and CDog VA were separate YouTube personalities, their channels catering to very specific audiences, with Connor's channel having a notorious 93% female ratio. But being on the podcast
I
where the
knew
meat of the
Aki
content
before
I
was
actually
them
realized
talking
it was
for
a
2
person.
hours, the boys had to expose their real personalities to the wider part of the internet for the first time. And before long, their real personalities had even outgrown the personas that had taken them years to establish. Now, the boys were no longer the Anime Man or CDog VA on the
Joey's
internet.
hair is so
They
long.
were
He just
Joey,
got a
Garnt, and
haircut in
Connor.
his newest video.
And before they knew it, Trash Taste had become the center of their focus, even taking priority over their main channels, as they've expressed on an episode.
Because when we started, again, it's like when we started Trash Taste, we were like, oh yeah, this will be like a nice side project for us to do, you know?
Yeah. No, like Trash Taste has become like almost the number one priority. No,
Yeah.
it is the number one
It
priority.
is the number one priority.
When we need to schedule a recording, that's getting done before any of my
Got
fucking
into
videos.
VJ
or any of,
because of
like,
these guys.
Specials were being filmed. Twitch streams started happening weekly
I
for the
adore
After Dark
Iron
channel,
Mouse,
made
and I
possible
love
when they moved
the
into
chemistry
a
of
brand
Iron
new
Mouse
studio.
and
Trash Taste
Connor so
was
much.
no longer just a podcast. It had become an entire content agency, leaving the anime niche they had once been restricted to and rivaling the likes to some of the biggest creator groups on the internet, with more and more YouTubers and streamers being added into their lore, which is where that joke originally came from, bringing Trash Taste to the point it is at today. There's your crash course on the Trash Taste lore, you're welcome. But now that we're all caught up and you're still watching at this point in the video,
What's Ligma?
you might be wondering what any of this has to do with a multiverse, and believe me, we'll get there soon. But the reason why I spent so much time explaining the lore, the real life story behind Trash Taste, is because I think what happened on Reddit afterwards, what the internet did to Trash Taste, may seem distorted and chaotic on the surface, but behind it all is a very accurate and honest reflection of what Trash Taste was to the boys. Something that had spiraled out of control, the growth of which was no longer within
That
their
was
hands,
an event.
in which all they could do was try to go along with the ride as best they
Joey's
could,
got some
and
legs,
watch how
man.
important their creation had become on the internet. And it all started with one Reddit post.
I can't wait for the next
What
Trash
post was
Taste
that?
special. It was
I
supposed
stay
to
away
be
from
out.
Reddit.
On March 3rd of 2022, an earthquake
Don't
with
worry.
a magnitude of 7.3 struck off the coast of Fukushima, the strongest earthquake Japan had faced in 10 years, which
I
also
remember
happened to
hearing about that
affect
one.
the area the members
Mhm.
of Trash Taste lived in. And while luckily none of the boys were hurt or seriously injured, the following episode of Trash Taste, in which the boys talked about their experience with the earthquake, inspired a fan to post a meme on their subreddit, and one meme was all it took. On a Sunday of April 17th,
light mode.
just
Only
2
cars
days after the
survived
episode
it.
went up, Reddit user the Andy-san posted an original edit titled "Only Garnt Survived the Earthquake" on the subreddit. In the edit, we see a deranged Garnt talking to himself in the Trash Taste studio, while the 2 other boys stay frozen in time. He tries to make light banter and joke around as they usually do, only to be met with
The freak. Go
That
ahead.
is an amazing edit. Oh, fuck.
The effort and edits that people put into this stuff is amazing.
Oh man, that's an amazing edit. Oh boy.
complete cold silence. And as the video continues, we see Garnt dive more and more into madness as he is unable to cope with the fact that the boys are no longer with him.
Just because those
Uh,
cardboard cutouts.
While I'm sure the intention of the post was nothing more than to make a pretty high effort meme, something about watching Garnt laughing at his own jokes and struggling to host a podcast by himself is strangely haunting the frozen,
Black
unchanging
Goku.
expression of the boys,
Yep.
only adding
That's
to
a
the
whole
horror
meme in
of the
itself
edit.
for the boys.
And
I
something
know.
about that existential
That's right.
dread,
You did watch
that
the
what if scenario resonated with people. So much
the new
so that
merch
this meme, now
videos.
given a name, the Trash Taste Dark Timeline, inspired an insane new wave of similar posts, each adding to the post before it, building on top of the lore they had created, inspiring a dozen more. Now, instead of making memes about the podcast, people could add their own contributions to this hypothetical timeline, envisioning what this dark what if reality would be like
The fans
together.
are
They could
something
now
awesome
post their
sometimes.
headcanons and fanfics in the form of a meme, and if it got enough upvotes, it became canon. And while this may all seem
Opium
very
emote.
random and out of nowhere, if you were there during that phase of the Trash Taste subreddit, I think it's pretty easy to understand what the appeal was. Memes on Trash Taste just weren't that creative anymore. All of the most upvoted memes were usually just reposts, and if they weren't, they'd literally be screenshots of a tweet or a YouTube comment that was even remotely
Sid.
related to Trash Taste.
Sydney's great.
Basically, the community was in a drought for original fan-made content, and this dark timeline was the perfect outlet to fight back against those unoriginal posts by breaking out of their limitation of what was real and creating their own jokes, lore, characters, and universes. So that's the story behind the dark timeline, but in true YouTuber fashion, I haven't actually explained anything yet. Where does all of this begin? Well, congratulations, because you officially made it to the part of the video where I actually explain the timelines. And to start, I'd like to begin by answering the question, why Garnt? Well, to answer that,
Why
look
not?
no further than the BBC time. On December 20th of 2021, Garnt uploaded a video titled Why I Left the BBC
I watched
on
that
his
one.
second channel. And in this video,
did?
Garnt
Yep.
recounts his story of graduating college, getting an engineering degree, and getting a job at the BBC.
I watched it with
Yet,
you.
feeling like he wasn't getting the
Okay.
life nor future he believed he was promised
hard
he'd
to
get
remember
if he
sometimes what we've
pursued
seen
this sort of
together.
lifestyle. And besides the whole Garnt worked at the BBC meme, I think the story of how he was finally able to let his father retire after quitting his job to follow his passion is genuinely beautiful and inspirational as hell, if not even sounding a little like your typical success story, almost like an anime protagonist. And it's those exact main character-like qualities of his backstory that led to the memes about Garnt being the protagonist of the Trash Taste amongst the fanbase.
He's
But
the one that's
it
married
also
out of
left
the two-
people
out of the three.
wondering about other alternate
Yeah.
possibilities. What
Uh,
if Garnt
as
had
far as I
never
know,
left the
Connor's not
BBC?
dating anyone,
What
or
if
at least
Gigguk
not publicly
had
dating
never
anyone,
returned?
and
And that's exactly
don't
the
know
what if
if
story the BBC timeline,
Aki and
also known
Joey
as
are
the
going
original
to get married
timeline,
anytime soon.
explores.
don't
In
know
this
if that's
timeline,
something
Trash
they plan to
Taste
do,
is
but they've
never
been together
conceived,
forever.
as Maylin never sees the potential in Yanitu.
Or at least a
And
long
while
time.
Garnt
I
and
don't know
Sydney are
exactly
still
how long.
happily married in the UK, Garnt feels an emptiness in his life that he can't explain. A lack of something that always lingered in the back of his mind. In the BBC timeline, Joey and Connor still die due to an unknown reason, and this is the part of the timeline where we reach our first convergence point, the deaths of Connor and Joey, but let's not worry about that right now. Eventually, the emptiness leads Garnt to quit his job at the BBC and uses his engineering degree to score a job at CERN. Yes, that CERN from Steins Gate, don't worry about it, and he invents the first prototype of the phone wave, a technology capable of sending radio waves to the past. This is also the timeline in which Garnt's son, Joseph Connor Manitoffo, was born. He doesn't know why he named his son that, but it weirdly brought him comfort. Now the director for the Phone Wave project, we reach our second convergence point in the multiverse, the first DN mail, which is sent to a random truck driver in the vast multiverse. However, during the first trial, the now Professor Garnt Manitoffo feels a strong
Steve
urge to
Handjobs.
redo his life,
I love
and
it.
despite knowing the risks involved, Garnt sends a second D-mail to his past self, warning himself of the life that awaited him if he stayed at the
Liquid lips.
BBC. And this is where we reach our first ending, the Steve Handjobs ending. You can take the man
There's
out
so
of the
much
trash,
stuff that I haven't
but you
even
can't take the
seen,
trash
even
out
on
of
this
man.
second watch. Because
While
I
the
wasn't
Garnt of
really
the BBC
trolling
timeline
Reddit.
has never found the
I
fulfillment
learned
he
more
was looking
about
for,
the Dark
did-
Timeline when Garnt went over it in his own video, but that was like a few months ago. This is a nice compiled explanation of what's going on and where it came from and everything.
It act as the trigger to a different timeline, a timeline where Garnt receives the DN mail from his alternate self and quits his job at the BBC. However, you'll quickly learn that the Garnt that received this DN mail isn't the same Garnt from our timeline, because the alternate universe this mail reached would become to known as the Dark Timeline. In this timeline, the events of Garnt's life before Trash Taste plays out pretty similarly to our own. Garnt quits his job at the BBC and returns from his long break to become a YouTuber. Mei Lin sees the potential in Nanotube and Trash Taste is created. But the earthquake on March 3rd happens and the convergence point happens again. Connor and Joey die in the earthquake. Garnt and Sydney still get married in this timeline, but Garnt's sanity slowly begins to slip. Unable to accept the deaths of his two best friends, Garnt continues to show up to the studio every week to record episodes of Trash Taste by himself, going on to record the second annual Trash Taste Awards before Daitis and Emirichu, who had just arrived at Japan, are recruited to replace the boys. The grief-stricken Garnt is unable to accept his change, and unable to move on, Trash Taste is disbanded, with Chris Broad hosting one final 24-hour charity stream in remembrance of the boys, becoming a member of Trash Taste even just for a little while. After Trash Taste disbands, Garnt and Sydney return to the UK, back to what little semblance of normalcy they had left. First of all, wow, that was depressing. And secondly, if any of this is starting to sound completely insane and incomprehensible to some of you, oh boy, we haven't even scratched the surface yet. The Darkest Timeline, not to be confused with the Dark Timeline, closely follows the events of the Dark Timeline, except in this universe, Garnt just receives the memories of the boys' deaths and the blueprints of a time machine, and attempts to travel back in time to save the boys. Except Mei Lin, who turns out to be an agent of CERN after having been warned by CERN agent Ashley about the threat Garnt is to the multiverse, was the one behind the deaths of the boys all along, and captures Garnt to force feed him copium, keeping him docile while extracting the memories of the time machine from his brain. After which, Mei Lin succeeds in building the time machine, but the world just ends in this timeline for some reason, and Garnt awakens from his long slumber of coping to a destroyed Earth, finding the remains of CERN's time machine and traveling back in time despite knowing its risks, ending up in the Dark Dimension.
That's low.
The Dark Dimension, not...
Watching this is kind of like watching them unravel George Miller stuff for Joji and Filthy Frank.
To be confused with the Dark Timeline, or the Darkest Timeline, is an endless loop of Garnt traveling back in time and attempting to save the boys, only to fail every time, as he is forced to watch his friends die over and over again, slowly driving him into insanity, until finally, he kills the boys with his own hands, and escapes the time loop, the timeline splitting off as one becomes evil Garnt, and the other, the Garnt who eats crusts. But while all of this is happening, the boys who died in the earthquake, Connor and Joey's souls, are transferred into the afterlife, where they have the Death Parade special, playing a game...
You don't like pizza crust?
I prefer, if there's no crust, if it's a good crust, I'll eat it, and if I have ranch, I'll eat regular crust, but I prefer thin crust pizza that doesn't have much of an edge. Why waste all that space?
Because it's good.
I like stuffed cheese stuffed crust, I suppose.
Yeah.
If the cheese didn't get melted out of it. But if it's just plain crust, it's boring.
Then again,
but I'm not good at wasting food, so I'm still gonna eat it, but I don't want it. Why do you think I like thin crust pizza so much?
I don't know, because you're a robot? I don't know. I like bread. I like pizza crust.
I like bread too, but especially if it doesn't have good flavor, I don't want to eat it.
Yeah. I just look at pizza crust as...
Or I just drown it in ranch.
Yeah.
It's usually dry, but, you know, it does depend on where you're getting it from, too.
True. We can discuss pizza later.
And Quindecim to determine where they'll end up in the afterlife. However, the boys are saved when a certain Death's apprentice, Calliope Mori, pays them a visit in the afterlife, having a spin-off episode of the
First
Chad cast
VTuber I
before
ever
she sends
heard
them off
of.
to be isekai'd, while she sets off to visit her own kohais. Bringing us back to the isekai timeline. Joey is born as DZ Newts, while Connor is reborn as Mira, and the boys reunite with a different Garnt from another universe, who had been hit by a truck after that same DN mail from the BBC timeline had reached the truck driver, now known as Taro Yamada. The events of the TRPG stream play out, but in a deleted post-credit scene, a familiar face appears to take the mind bofa from DZ Newts. None other than Chris Broad, who now went by the name Kranos. Wait, hold up. Who the hell is Kranos? Well, that all starts from the Dank World line, is another alternate reality in which only
Dank
Joey
World line?
survives the Fukushima earthquake after watching the hit Netflix show Arcane. But in this timeline, instead of being driven to insanity, Joey develops schizophrenia. Trash Taste continues with Chris Broad replacing Garnt and Connor, except in this reality, Joey and Chris no-clip out of reality, ending up in the back rooms.
Ha! Called it!
After Chris and Joey wake up under the yellow fluorescent lights and the old rotten carpets of the backrooms, the pair begin to wander, narrowly avoiding death many times and traversing its various levels. Joey, who is still depressed and schizophrenic, begins hallucinating episodes of Trash Taste on the walls, being separated from Chris, leaving him to wander the backrooms all alone. And as Chris wanders through the endless yellow corridors of the backrooms, something inside him changes. Something snaps. He was Mr. Affable until he wasn't. And after wandering upon an old shrine deep inside the backrooms, now having become Killer Chris, he finds a strange gauntlet before finding an exit and finally escaping the backrooms, eager to solve the mysteries of the gauntlet. While back in the backrooms, Joey, although separated from Chris, manages to survive by himself. His mind fading, yet never losing his sense of morality as Chris did, Joey stumbles upon a mysterious level of the backrooms. An infinite void, with 1,000 voices in his head whispering him to jump in. Jumping into the void, Joey is consumed, and Dr. Jelly, also known as Josh the hentai lad, is born. Dr. Jelly also escapes the back rooms.
Huh.
Now having escaped the back rooms, Chris uses the power of his new gauntlet to travel to a
Huh?
new universe. No, creating his own twisted reality, the Broad Taste world line. In this timeline, Killer Chris films a documentary on Kadokawa, the company Maylin and Trash Taste is based in, and convinces Maylin to let him host a podcast. Convincing Joey and Connor to join him, the Broad Broadcast is born, but because its acronym is spelled BBC, the name is changed to Broad Taste. However, the Chris in this timeline isn't the Chris as we know him, and after a series of directional disagreements, the non-affable Chris murders Maylin and takes full control of the podcast for himself. The
Do you
timeline
watch a lot of,
continues as normal. However,
abroad in
during the
Japan?
filming of the
No.
hit song ASO Too Much Volcano, the volcano erupts behind the crew, killing Joey and Natsuki and pushing Chris to a new level of insanity. The timeline continues, but Connor begins to grow concerned about Chris's mental state. This is pushed further when the day
Wait a second. Joey does
What's up?
music, doesn't he?
Yes.
I'm surprised he didn't do any music at the.
Well, that's because that is like
What would
his
you call
singular
that we
thing.
went to?
A
Just
live
Trash
show.
Taste live in Austin?
Yeah, it was just a live show, like we did with the what we've done Game Grumps and we did Achievement Hunters back in the day, and still sad we missed Jack when he was stateside.
Jack has
And-
Sean?
Yeah,
Ah,
Jacksepticeye, Sean.
I was watching his videos earlier today.
I still need to watch his newest thing. I never got. I need to sit down and watch it.
Oh, what was it called? Project something, where he was,
That's the one. I
yeah.
haven't watched it.
I watched it because I like watching that kind of stuff. But everybody who walked in my bedroom that day who was while I was watching it literally just stopped and watched it with me. It was
I
pretty
just
awesome.
haven't had time to commit to just straight up focus on it,
Yeah,
so I haven't been able to do it yet.
but I mean, I think it was pretty
I'm
awesome
glad
that.
it's doing well.
But I think it's pretty awesome that the fact that something like that can grab somebody's attention and they want to see how it ends. So
Oh yeah.
anyway, go.
Day after Broad Taste's first anniversary, Chris uploads the Journey Across Japan series as if Joey and Natsuki hadn't died, causing a huge controversy and dividing his fanbase. The podcast becomes less profitable after the controversy, and the crazed killer Chris takes over the Anime Man's channel to make up for losses. However, Connor demands that Chris stops profiting off of the boy's death. Chris agrees, but it becomes obvious that another breakup is imminent. The last straw is when Connor finally tells Chris that he's quitting the podcast to become a VTuber. Infuriated by this, Chris begins to chase down Connor and his good friend Pete with murder in his eyes. All hope seems lost when a savior arrives. Iron Mouse joins the battle.
Mousy.
Now with the murderous Chris after him, Connor, Iron Mouse, and Pete are forced to defect to another country and live in hiding. Chris relaunches his podcast with new hosts and begins to gain popularity again, but this time, Connor also prepares something. You see, Connor's British lineage and status as a JoJo fan allowed him to study Magecraft and Hamon at the Clock Tower, hoping to gain enough power to put an end to Chris and his tyranny. Connor trains. While all of this is happening, Chris, who is still on the hunt for Connor, gets into Japanese politics and becomes the Prime Minister of Japan to start a global manhunt for Connor. Chris becomes a dictator, abolishing the Japanese constitution and re-establishing Imperial Japan. Connor manages to stay hidden by summoning a bunch of clones of himself, until finally, he masters his power, becoming the Dr. Ligma. Learning of the Alpha World Lines and determined to become powerful enough...
What's up?
Just that delivery. Oh boy! Because earlier I was thinking, I could see Connor being a Doctor Strange-esque character, and then to hear the explanation for why he is, it's awesome.
Thought you'd love that.
To one day end Chris once and for all, Dr. Ligma sets off into the multiverse, finally escaping the Broad Taste timeline.
So will we
Still
have
with
more
me?
than
Well,
one Dr.
I hope
Ligma?
so, because we haven't even
Probably.
gotten started on the complicated timelines yet. Like, why is there a cat world line? And who came up with Nyarnt? What the hell is a Garnstrumentality timeline? And where does Garntalactus come from? Garnt becomes a god in this timeline, and we haven't even gotten started on the Holy Grail War, but actually, the Holy
Garnt's
Grail
not
War is
badass, no
important
sunglasses.
because that's where Garnt Alter and Dr. Fate is from. And there's an entire timeline which is just a parody of Steins Gate Zero that's just there. As far as I know, it doesn't share any significant connections to the other timelines, not to mention I have no idea what they're talking about because I haven't watched Steins Gate Zero. What the fuck is a Looped Among Us? This is the point in my
answer that
research
one.
where my mind began.
What is a what?
A Lubed Among Us. It's from the 24-hour stream that they did, and they had to guess what was in a box. And one of the things Garnt had to feel in the box was an Among Us toy that Maylene had lubed up. I guess just to try and throw them off whenever they felt it. And it's part of the lore now.
Huh. Gross.
And to break. At this point, the Trash Taste timeline was bigger than anything I had ever imagined it would be. How was I supposed to present this information in a way that was coherent and made sense? It took Giguk 30 minutes to explain the Fate timeline, with over 10 years of video making experience under his belt. I've barely been doing it for under a year, and my longest video is 14 minutes. But what scared me even more is that it actually began to make sense. Here was this abomination of a timeline made by a bunch of Redditors with no planning or coordination, but I felt like I was beginning to grasp it, and I knew I couldn't stop. This story had to be told, and I had to be the one to do it. And in order to reach the climax of this story, we have to go back to where we originally started, to the end of the original Dark timeline.
Huh.
You see, a little while ago when I was telling you all about the original Dark timeline, I actually lied to you. Garnt being driven to insanity and moving back to London wasn't the end of the Dark timeline. Here's the story that I didn't tell you. The year is 2025. After returning to his homeland, Garnt would run into someone in the clock tower in Westminster that would change the course of the multiverse forever. Aaron Kruger. Because you see, being the main character that he is, Garnt learns that he descended from a family that bears a powerful magic crest, and having the potential to harness true magic, the only thing preventing him from becoming a menace to the multiverse was his own adamant depression. Oh, and if none of what I said makes sense to you, don't worry about it, it's just Fate lore. But with extensive and arduous training, something inside Garnt snaps, and a new fire is lit inside him. He keeps moving forward, until the boys are brought back. With his newfound passion, no, obsession, Garnt masters true magic, and now only needs a catalyst in order to break the barrier and reach the root of the world. Again, don't worry about it, and coincidentally, that catalyst would appear sooner than he expected, in the form of the second convergence point, the first ever DN mail Professor Garnt had sent all those universes ago in the BBC timeline. As the message traversed across the vast multiverse, it had caused a breach within the fabrics of space and time itself, giving the now dubbed Sorcerer Supreme Garnt just enough of a window to use his second and third magic, leaving his wife Sydney behind and entering Akasha, leading into an event that would come to be known as the First Akashic Collapse.
Okay.
It's insane, and I love it. There's just so much happening.
Warden of Time, I've come to
It's
bargain.
Crony.
I would
She's
like
a
to turn
VTuber.
back time. In return,
I'm gonna
I'll...
have to stop you right there. That
This
little
anime
quest
better
which
have
you
giant
desire
robots
has
in it.
millions of consequences.
I'm well aware of that.
Just
Even
can't
so,
remember.
I must go back in time.
I'm
so
a
I
crony
can
well
save.
enough to
I'll do
remember.
whatever it takes to bring
And
back
she's
the
hollow
times
love?
together.
I'm afraid you
Wrong.
weren't listening to me. I must ask you to leave. Now.
I was hoping it didn't have to come to this, but... Here I go! It's been 2 years since you boys were gone. I will do my best to overcome this and bring you guys back. But if I don't,
I love fandom so
Joey,
much.
Connor,
Sometimes they
maybe
make
I'll finally join you
the
guys
most
together.
amazing things ever.
Yep.
Well, well. If it isn't my good friend. Garnt.
Callie?
Sorry to interrupt, but... I can't just let my friends kill each other now.
It's like watching Sailor Moon.
Callie-senpai?
With the help of Calliope Mori and a little convincing, the Warden of Time no longer stands in Garnt's path. However, the absence of the Warden would soon be revealed to have some dire, unforeseen consequences on the multiverse. You see, now that the Warden of Time was gone, the Garnt who laughs, who had been imprisoned in Akasha by the Watcher Ladybeard, was freed from his seal, and from his
Ladybeard?
shackles, dubbing himself Dark Garnt Supreme,
Yeah,
kills
anyone
Ladybeard and takes
that
the
has
soul
ever
bolt
done
up,
anything
using it and
with
the
any
power
three of
Akasha
them
to pull in
is gonna
every
show up in
Garnt
this
from across
timeline at
every
least once.
universe, setting into motion the Great Garnt Battle Royale. Every Garnt from every timeline is here. Garnt, Grant, Monk Garnt, Giga Chad Garnt, Dark Garnt, Garnt Alter, Fate Garnt, Old Garnt, Gangster Garnt, Female Garnt, Sigma Male Garnt, Sad Garnt, Omori Garnt, Second Channel Garnt, God himself. The battle seems endless, but amidst the chaos, a familiar face slips into the infinite fighting. Dr. Ligma.
So sad. Steve Handjobs died of Ligma.
What's Ligma?
Ligma balls.
And determined to end this meaningless conflict once and for all, Dr. Ligma kills Dark Garnt Supreme, taking the Soul Stone back from him. And thus, the machinations of Dark Garnt were finally put to an end. However, the war was far from over, as
So
What's up?
they're putting Marvel level of storytelling into this. That was just all the friggin' the Conquerors.
I mean, if you've paid attention, everything does relate to anything that's been multiverse related, because and time travel related. The Fate stuff, the Steins Gate stuff,
Yeah.
of course, Marvel. Anything that's part of the fun, because a lot of the memes will start up because of watching Doctor Strange and putting Connor's face on it, or redrawing stuff to be references of mangas that they enjoy.
So, we've seen Connor. And, sorry about that. We've seen Connor. We've seen Garnt.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Joey stuff come in?
He was Dr. Jelly, remember? He's gonna be related to the Chris timeline. When they went in the back room, remember?
Okay.
Finally, we reach the climax of this story. Because you see, the actions of Dark Gaunt Supreme weren't without their consequences. Pulling Gaunts from all the different timelines across the multiverse had caused the universes to collapse into each other, triggering a domino effect of incursions.
You good there?
There's a Garnt that is fucking Funny Valentine. The black and white image. My heart and actions are utterly unclouded. There. He was told to kill somebody by God.
That would come to be known as the Akashic Incursion. And the different sides of the multiverse began forming alliances, all in preparation for the final battle. All of their choices, paths, and dreams coalesced into one gigantic battle to decide the fate of the multiverse, the ultimate showdown of ultimate destiny. On one side of the multiverse was the Council Alliance, headed by Dr. Ligma and Dr. Jelly, who had become best friends after meeting in their travels across the multiverse. With the support of the Council of Garnts, who had been warned of the incoming war that loomed over them, they set out to recruit powerful allies for their cause. The three Watchers of the multiverse, Kaho, Ladybeard, and PewDiePie, as well as the help of the Queen of Demons Ironmouse and her servant. Infernal Beelzebub Anarchia, Cruel the Apocalypse, the opposite of divine, Prince of Suffering and Torment, Master of all sin, Conqueror of the underworld, and the King of all demonkind, Booby. The Council also seeks the help of their most powerful ally, Ongenful Null. Don't ask me who that is.
I don't.
On the
that's
other
the
side
one
of the
that I'm
galaxy,
lost
the
on.
Broadcast Alliance.
I don't
After
get that
attaining godlike powers from the Infinity Gauntlet, Kranos seeks out Dr. Fate from the Fate timeline, another user of true magic, and proposes a plan. A plan to create the perfect world line, where he and Dr. Fate could finally be happy. With 3 of the Infinity Stones already in his possession, he only needed to collect the remaining 3 to attain absolute power at the snap of his fingers. His plan was to summon Garnt Galactus directly into the root of Akasha itself in order to distract the Council Alliance, while he slips away to steal the remaining stones. Dr. Fate is reluctant to join him, but he decides to go along with him for now, seeing no other choice. So Dr. Fate prepares a gate to the deepest parts of the trash dimension to summon an army of minions. With both sides having made their preparations, plans, and alliances, it was finally time. Time for war. The Akashic Incursion had begun. Dr. Ligma, Dr. Jelly, and God arrive with their army at Akasha first and get into defensive positions, preparing for battle. They could sense it. He was coming. The Akashic Incursion War had just begun. Immediately as they arrive, Dr. Fate brings down the wrath of the Trash Realm, freeing its prisoners onto the battlefield as they rush at the Council Alliance. But Dr. Jelly single-handedly fends them off, allowing Dr. Ligma to get close enough to Dr. Fate to be able to battle him 1v1. While the Council Alliance are distracted, Kranos successfully summons Garnt Galactus into Akasha according to his plan. However, he hadn't accounted for the Council Alliance's secret weapon, Ongenful Null, and the two cosmic beasts clash while the 2 Watchers, Kaho and Ladybeard, catch up to Kranos to confront him. On the other side of the battlefield, Dr. Ligma and Dr. Fate are a close match, but Dr. Ligma is able to gain the edge over his foe, using the power of the Power Stone. Being forced to retreat, Dr. Fate falls back to Kranos, who had been battling the Council by himself. You see, Dr. Fate had one more trick up his sleeve, a weapon he wished he didn't have to resort to.
Not. I've come to bargain.
Dr. Fate bargains with Nart, the Lord of the Trash Dimension, and convinces him to join the fight, summoning him to distract Dr. Ligma. Together with Kranos, Dr. Fate overpowers the Council Alliance, and all seems lost, when a member of the Watchers arrive late to the battlefield to even the tides. PewDiePie, the strongest Watcher, joins the battle. The Watchers, now finally reunited, are able to fight Dr. Fate and Kranos on equal grounds. The battle is grueling and it goes on for hours. The Watchers were powerful, but Kranos with the power of the Infinity Stones proved to be too much, even for the multiverse's most powerful beings. And the Watchers, after putting up a valiant fight, are defeated by the hands of Chris. Meanwhile, on the other side of Akasha, Dr. Fate and Dr. Ligma are weakened after hours of going head to head against each other, and in their final moments, they share a heart-to-heart.
I forgive you, Dr. Ligma. You may not be the Connor I wanted, but you're the Connor I needed.
While the Council is recovering, Kranos completes the Infinity Gauntlet and now holds infinite power in his hands. No one stands in his way, but there's one last hope. Realizing the mistakes of his ways, Dr. Fate finally offers to help the Council Alliance and tells them about the only way to stop Kranos. There's one way to stop Chris's madness, and the answer was to burn it all away. Gathering up what strength they had left, Dr. Ligma, Dr. Fate, and Dr. Jelly share a final moment together as they prepare for the multiverse to come to an end and sets off to complete their final tasks. Dr. Fate, who Kranos still believed to be his ally, kills the weakened Kranos from behind and taking the gauntlet, snaps Ongenful Null from existence. Meanwhile, Dr. Ligma performs his one final
Video
act.
is insane.
Using the power of the Mind Bofa, Connor erases the dark timeline from every living being's memories, and Garn Galactus is left to devour Akasha all alone. In the multiverse, every timeline, universe, and possibility converges upon one another, coming to one singular point. And then there was nothing. Everything ends and it's always sad, but everything begins again too, and that's always happy. That's the end of the timeline. Every story, characters, alternate realities, and weird lore. Something that seemed so expansive, incomprehensible, and daunting when I first set out to make this video, all leading up to this one moment. For everything to end and for there to be nothing. Because just like anything else on the internet, memes die, people lose interest, and just like anything in the world, things end. Things that seem big, important, or personal at the moment, all eventually fading into obscurity. At the start of the video, you might remember that I talked about Trash Taste's story of success and they're coming into the internet mainstream, but that too is one day going to end into nothingness, just like how the internet moves on from anything. Wow, that got pretty deep, and maybe it's pretty cringe of me to get this philosophical over what is basically a glorified collection of shit posts, but don't worry, cause that's not the note I plan to end this video off on
Find
at all.
philosophy wherever, man.
Because despite everything I just told you, there's still a part of the story that I haven't told yet. Not the story as in the collaborative work of a bunch of Redditors that came together because of something they loved, but the story of the community itself. The Trash Taste subreddit, and the exact reason why I found what came next after the trend of the dark timeline so fitting. Because despite everything, despite the
Undertale music.
countless failures and impossible odds,
I may have teared
somewhere
up a
out there
little
in the
bit.
galaxy, Garnt succeeded. He saved the boys, fixed the timeline, and brought back Trash Taste. And the event that manifested the true ending of the Trash Taste dark timeline was none other than Garnt and Sydney's wedding. The community coming together and unanimously agreeing that this was it. The perfect ending to the dark timeline. And that's the note I want to end this video off on. That despite the fleeting nature of internet meme culture and Reddit shitposts, the dark timeline didn't just fade into obscurity, and neither will Trash Taste nor anything you've come to care about on this online space. Because when everything is over and we look back, we can find these little stories inside the things that happened on the internet, that happened for a reason. Bizarre, strange, beautiful stories that give an honest reflection into the creators and communities they stemmed from. And that's what the internet did to Trash Taste. This timeline, these memes, and this video you're watching right now being living proof of that. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed that video. I just want to take a quick moment to say a thank you to Armo360 and Something Wong, who compiled this entire timeline, artist Sir Luco, who drew these amazing comics of the Garnt vs. Warden of Time fight scenes, as well as Alex and Audie, who are the voices of Garnt and Connor. This video is like 3 months late and took way too long to make, so I'm probably gonna go lie down for a bit, make some YouTube shorts or something. But what I can assure you is that the next upload will not take another 4 months, and thanks to anyone who stuck around for whatever reason. With that, I believe you've heard enough of my voice for today, so I'm signing out, and I'll see you on the next one.
What is he playing?
My guess was Genshin Impact. I wasn't really paying attention, nor do I know enough about Genshin Impact to be correct.
I know nothing about Genshin Impact.
It's a
As
free
we
game
go-
that I technically have on my computer, but I never got around to actually playing it.
What? Oh, Devil May
Hmm?
Cry?
No, Genshin Impact.
Oh.
I mean, I do also have Devil May Cry. I have all of that I need to play. I have all of Assassin's Creed that I need to play, but that requires having time to play games. I've been playing any of the ones I know that are short in Steam. I played Turnip Boy Does Tax Fraud, Tax Evasion. That was really cute. I really enjoyed it.
I read about that game the other day.
I suggest that. You should put it on your wish list.
Will do.
Turnip Boy commits tax evasion.
Because, I
It's
got...
only like
Go ahead.
a couple hours long.
Oh. I got, Plants vs. Zombies to work, and once that worked, I was like, oh, I'm done. I'm playing it.
Plants vs. Zombies is fun. I want Sonic Frontiers, but it's $60, and I don't have $60 to dump on it right now.
Turnip Boy.
But at least I know it's having a lot of positive reviews, or at least maybe that's biased. I watched some gameplay of it today, and it looked fun. It felt like a actual sequel to the Sonic Adventure, the first one, when you really get to run around the world before you enter the other games.
Play as an adorable yet troublemaking turnip. Avoid paying taxes. Solve fantastic puzzles. That is the horrible most pun I've ever read.
It's about 2-3 hours to like get all of the achievements and stuff if you really sit there, and I think I had to double check where hats and stuff was, but I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
A lot of games look like they're returning to that top-down perspective that we grew up with.
I like the indie games.
Yeah, so do I. I have a crap ton of them on my wish list. A lot.
I'll have to try and catch the streams for sure when you play Turnip Boy.
If I ever get it.
I like keeping an eye on out for those sales. I don't know much about Backroom. I just know it's a thing.
Well,
it was mentioned in the
I watched Matt
video.
Pat cover it, and then I was like, what the hell is this? And then it turns out it has a huge fan base. And then, because Markiplier was doing his whole analog horror thing. I don't know. Restless Soul. I played the demo of that. It was cute. But
Restless Soul. What is it about?
you play as a ghost that's in the world between death and life, trying to return to life, and you have to just help people.
The last thing I have with Ghost in it, or that I bought with Ghost in it, is the Ghost dating sim.
The ghost dating sim, what's that?
It's a dating sim with Ghost. Speed dating for ghosts. That's what it's called.
Is it on Steam?
Yes. I should play that. It probably won't be too long, but I've got a chunk of visual novels I need to just sit down and read through. But I have to be in the right mood, and it also has to catch my attention long enough.
Speed dating for ghosts.
So I do like visual novels.
Branching dialogue, hard choices, a cemetery's worth of phantoms, race, and
I
poltergeists.
first heard about that in a Jaden video.
In a what?
Jaden video.
Who's that?
1 second. Save that for later. Oh, I'm. They'll need to watch that video at some point. Nope, nope, nope. Ah, there you are. Don't play.
Ghost pirate. Okay. You sent it to me through Discord. I'll look it up later. I'm gonna get at this speed dating for ghosts.
But she talks about speed dating for Ghost in the video.
Oh?
It's much shorter than the one we just watched. We could watch it if you want.
Sure. Oh, Jaden. Okay. I was like, who? Yes.
Dating. Not a fan. But you know, dating simulators can be the closest thing there is to dating without actually having to go out and do it for real, which can seem much more appealing to people like me who do not like people. Believe it or not, dating sims are more popular than you think. Don't believe me?
Iron Mouse right there. What?
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Either way, there's a seemingly
Why did I not
endless
catch that
plethora
before?
of different types of dating simulators out there. You can
Like Dream
simulate
Daddy.
dating anime girls,
Mhm.
anime boys, evil anime girls, old rich chicken man, bubbles, birds. Anything you set your mind to, you can date. Virtually.
Yep.
I've never really played or wanted to play
That
dating
Equine
simulators.
one is a real
The
one.
closest thing I've come to
Equine one.
developing any sort of connection with virtual beings is being best friends with Chief in Animal Crossing when I was 13. So I decided I want to see what they're like. You know, surely there's a reason the genre has roughly 22 million consumers. I mean, that's a few million short of the entire continent of Australia. You love bugs, but I didn't go out looking to play the generic normal games. I wanted to test the limits of game developers' creativity and find dating sims that were conceptually really out there. First on the table is speed dating for ghosts. As you can guess, we are starting out by dating ghosts. So how it works is you choose a room to go into, you have a few minutes to chat with a ghost until a bell rings, and another one sits down in front of you. There's 3 ghosts per room, and once you get the chance to chat with all of them, they all do another circuit, you can continue your conversations, and ultimately choose which one you want to go on a date with. I'm greeted by the speed dating receptionist, Fran, who says, "We get all kinds of ghosts here. Nice ones, sad ones, spooky ones. It gets lonely being a ghost." And I say, "I like being alone." And Fran goes, "I've never met a ghost who doesn't need anyone. No one to talk to? Make sense of all this? I'm doing just fine, thanks. You don't even want to make a friend?" Nope. And that led to me leaving the speed dating for ghosts event. Well, okay, I guess I can't be myself in these
Nice.
games after all. So I lie, and I'm given the choice to enter one of 3 rooms. The Room of Palms, the Room of Liars, and the Room of Black.
Huh.
I just went into the Room of Palms. This huge buff jock ghost sits down in front of me, introduces himself as Riley, and proceeds to call me pretty hot for a ghost. To which I reply, "Slow down there, buddy." And Riley immediately apologizes, and now I feel bad. Guys, I don't think I'm good at... I think I've been choosing nothing but all the wrong answers so far. Riley and I chat a bit, the bell rings, and I meet this old smoking ghost who used to live in Vegas and was part of the Vegas Mafia until they burned her house down with her in it. The bell rings again, and this giant bush ghost sits down. So this is Steph. She's anxious and introspective in a light and charming way. I'll be honest when I say I did really enjoy her conversations, but then you start to realize she doesn't realize she's dead and a ghost. And then the conversation turns more into just trying to hint towards letting her know she's not alive anymore. I started learning Japanese, but there's thousands of kanji characters to learn. You've got an eternity to learn. If only I'll die before I learn the language. You're already dead. Ha! Yeah, you're right. In a way, we all are just waiting to die. You're dead. Are you threatening me? I'm gonna tell Fran. Steph finally catches on, and then it gets super introspective. You know, I still feel alive. Just dissociated. Ouch! Oof! Whoa! Oh, that one was real out of nowhere. What the heck? You can't recite my own feelings to me like that. Time ran out and the event came to a close. Out of all the ghosts, I wasn't really drawn to any of them enough to want to go on a date. I like Steph, but she's got her own demons to face for a bit. So back to the 3 rooms I went. For round 2, I chose Room of Liars. First up is a ghost that is apparently very scared of ghosts. When I was alive, I used to be so scared of ghosts. And turns out they were real this whole time? That one was, you know, I feel like there was an overall ceiling going into it with how well that could have gone no matter what. So, you know. Then came Spooky Peter, and I was ecstatic. Oh my god, he's so cool! He died from the bubonic plague, and now he's become a master at spooking people who are still alive. He's an actual legend. I'm blessed to be in his presence. The living people have written books about him. I was getting spooking tips and learning about the mirror world when the bell rang and this shark ghost, Leon, sits down in front of me and leads with, "Wanna make some money? Doesn't everyone? Exactly. Let's rob a bank."
Whoa.
So I meet up with Leon at the place he told me. I was a little bummed I couldn't chat more with Spooky Peter, but when someone invites you to join them in robbing a bank, how can you say no? You put everything on hold. We were getting ready to go in and we're chatting with Leon's bank robbing buddy, Carlsbad, who was explaining how he works at the bank we were about to rob so he can open the safe and knows where all the security cameras are pointed. When Spooky Peter! Leon recruited Spooky Peter to join the bank rob crew from the speed dating event as well. I'm nothing less than ecstatic, and my mental health is at an all-time high, which is the ideal circumstances for bank robbing. We get into the safe thanks to Carlsbad, and unfortunately there wasn't a huge pile of money like Leon was hoping. Like in the cartoons and movies. But we were able to open a deposit box that had some lawyer documents in it and a 14-karat gold vanity mirror set. I gave the mirror to Spooky Peter. That was about all the time we had before we had to scram out of there. And even though it wasn't a huge pile of money, I think it was a pretty successful bank robbery. We took something from the bank. That's what else do you want? And I got to see Spooky Peter again. So, since I technically didn't go out on a date with anyone from the liar's room and robbed a bank instead, that leaves one room left to find my spooky ghost partner. Everyone in the Room of Black was very nice. There was a punk rock skater kid just looking to have fun with a new friend, a nice old pollen lady who makes jam for the living, and Gary. Hello? I'm gonna narrow my own eyes at you. Oh my god. Okay. Hello? No! Bad breath? Please. I'm so sorry. Oh my god, this is embarrassing. I learned Gary's a vengeful ghost who was murdered at his office job, but doesn't remember how, why, or who did it. So naturally, I go along with him to find his murderer and avenge his soul. Turns out Gary was the murderee and stabbed his work partner and then was shot by the police. Well, he was very nice to me. Speed dating for ghosts. I made a lot of friends, but no virtual ghost could win my heart. So let's move on to The Bachelor. You know how The Bachelor works. This is just that. in rat form. I've been told
goes
these
on to talk
violet
about a
eyes of
couple
mine are
others.
more purple than all the lavender
like
in
the
the
last
world,
one.
and I certainly smell better too. Ooh, you talk a lot. Dear, I can't say that I recall you mentioning it, but how'd you say you scored on the SATs? I got a 1570, which is quite good, if you didn't know. Wow, you're so different. You wanted to hear more about my work? Yes, sometimes I host Saturday Night Live and also Wheel of Fortune and Dancing with the Stars. Ever seen Avengers by Marvel? I was the Avenger. Wow.
Meeple.
Wow, you're so different. It's time you meet my children, Reggie997, Evangeline, Esquire Jr., Sharpie, and Trashcan. They already love you. Yuck. If you want my respect, you need to earn it. My whole life, I've had to make do by myself and work for what I've got. And every time I've needed help, people let me down. Yuck. Honestly, as much as I enjoy being here on The Ratchler, I can't wait to get back home so I can keep teaching my baking class at the local youth center. The kids are so sweet. Next up, I'm teaching them all to bake cheesecake. I hope you can come with me. I could bake you a cheesecake. The kids would love you. You talk a lot. I ended up proposing to 3 salamanders dressed up as a rat. All right, what's next? Dating a dog? Sure, why not at this point? Would you like to see my collection of newts?
Heck yeah.
No.
What?
What's your ideal starting Pokemon? I'm way more Digimon, to be honest. Would you like to hear a joke? I hate jokes. Pipe down and listen up. What do you call an alligator in a vest? An investigator. I never want to see you again. So I've tried dating ghosts, rats, dogs. What else is there at this point? You're right. Namco video game characters. When I found out this sim lets you date Namco characters, I immediately thought of Fygar from Dig Dug.
Namco
I just think he's really cool. I don't think they
Yeah.
put Fygar in there, but Dig Dug is part of the cast, so I
Hell yeah,
started
boy.
getting my hopes up that I could get to know Dig Dug. So in the game, you play as a shy, awkward cousin from Katamari Damacy who attends Namco High. You end up being put in detention for rolling up desks, the entire marching band, cars, Principal Dig Dug. Wait, he's the principal?
He's old enough to be.
Yeah, that's not gonna work. So now I'm bummed and on the verge of quitting the game. What's the point in playing if neither Dig Dug or Fygar are romantic interests? But in the cast of characters in the detention room I could talk to, one stuck out to me. Galaga Ship. And suddenly it's all worth it again. I go up and try to talk to Galaga Ship, and naturally they're surrounded by all the popular characters. They're talking about the school play and how they all think Galaga Ship is perfect to play Juliet. And thus began my plan to get into the school play to Romeo Juliet kiss Galaga Ship. I have the option to talk to other characters, and I just go, no, I'd rather sit here and do nothing until the end of detention. And that's exactly what I did. The next day was the little school festival to show off all the clubs and stuff. Naturally, I went straight for the drama club and found Galaga Ship manning the booth. I want to join. Auditions are in the auditorium. I want to be Romeo. Read your lines. Alas, that love, whose view Romeo's understudy. Bam! Good enough. Now I have an excuse to practice lines with Galaga Ship, who did land the Juliet role because they're perfect in every way. The story moves along, and I
Okay.
meet up with Galaga Ship to rehearse our lines. Well, their lines. You know, understudy. But Principal Dig Dug finds us in the auditorium and thinks we're skipping class for some reason and gives us both double detention. So the obvious next step for me was to sneak onto Galaga Ship's property at night and discreetly start apologizing for getting them into double detention. But then their parents find us being secretive and suspicious and ban me from ever talking to their child ever again. It starts raining. Then Pac-Man, who has not been a character in this story at all up until this point, shows up and tells me to be true to myself. Okay, I go home. The next day at school, we find out suddenly Pac-Man has been kidnapped by evil Namco High. I don't even know where the story is
Who's
going
that
anymore.
evil
Galaga
Namco?
Ship and I team up and beat everyone
Probably
up.
the
I think,
villains.
like all the students and teachers, we rescue Pac-Man, and that's the end. The end. I'll be honest, that one was a bit... I think it lost me there. You'd think a game where you can date Galaga Ship would have a clearer story. After all the dating simulators I just went through, I think I feel weird. Were they all fun? Yeah, I'd say so. But yeah, maybe going for the strangest ones. I guess I got what I asked for. Either way, it was a nice experience. I believe I understand the appeal of dating simulators. It is unfortunate I didn't end up finding my perfect virtual relationship, but hey, there's plenty of ones and zeros in the sea. But I do not think I will be casting my line again anytime soon. However, I could go for another bank robbery.
Surprise! We've been working with Terraria to do a collab on some merch stuff, and it's here. Look at this awesome Jaden Lunata cultist stuff. Dang, dude, it's so sick. You can find it on the Terraria shop, which is just terraria.shop. We're working on some Christmas merch.
What?
I'm trying to remember if I have Terraria. I don't know if I
called
ever.
it the 2D
I
Minecraft,
have
and somebody got mad at me.
I think it has a bit more storyline to it than Minecraft does.
It does, but I mean, on the basic level.
No, it's what I thought when I initially saw it too. So Terraria.
It's only $10 and it's been out for a while.
I must have got it on sale. Because I try to get everything on sale. As long as you're patient. Stray is probably the most recent thing that I got that wasn't on sale, and I still need to play it.
It's still on my wish list.
But I always have an idle game going. Idle Champions has me lately. It's free to play, but it is also one of those pay to play.
Pay to win?
Pay to win. I think you can do things without ever having to pay, but it's a lot of patience.
It's any pay to win game. I could get this, or I can just no life mode this and have it also. No life it is. Save me some monies.
All the monies. Right now, I have them grinding enemies. I need to defeat 25,000 devil enemies. And 3,500 boss enemies. But I also need to probably restart at some point. Because I need to complete a free area to get some points. Because I have a skin I want to unlock. But we'll see if I get there before the rest of the 2 weeks is up.
How am I not subscribed to her? Oh, I am on my other account. I'm not subscribed to her on this one.
I have found accounts that I have been unsubscribed from and didn't even know, but to be fair, I probably hadn't watched them in a while because I've just started. If it's on my recommendation page, I'll watch it. I've gotten real bad about that. Because I learned I was no longer subscribed to Slow Mo Guys, and I'm like, but I've been subscribed to them for years.
Yeah. I was telling somebody how we met them earlier today.
Got the photo somewhere.
I know I don't have it.
I saw the photo. Saw the photo not long ago. I just don't remember what I saw it on.
Oh yeah, I was telling Cassie that we met them. Because I was watching them launch a cue ball out of a cannon. And then we went off on a tangent and looked up cannons online. But
okay, I am starving, and it was fun going through the video with you. Thanks for watching it with me.
Oh, thank you for watching it with me. That was an interesting anime of the boys.
Yeah, especially like half that lore is just stuff from watching Trash Taste and the Trash Taste After Dark, and also watching their individual channels, and at least watching some Chris Abroad stuff. I think you might like the Abroad in Japan stuff.
I've seen like one or two videos, but I don't think I think they just like played. I don't think I actually like paid attention to what was going on.
And then Uh,
I
Garnt
was down for
started
watching
talking
stuff.
about VTuber stuff, and I didn't watch a super lot of it, but then I started getting recommended clips of like Connor and Iron Mouse, and I got hooked to their chemistry. They are really good together. I love it when, especially
Did you try to
I
say dynamic just a second ago and just stopped?
probably I like their dynamicness. The sentence didn't really work, so I went with chemistry.
Ah,
They work well together, and I also like watching their IRL streams because Connor will take, since Mouse can't leave her house in real life, Connor takes her around virtually to do things
oh, so that's what
in
he was
Japan,
doing.
and
I
he,
think a week ago,
he did
he was doing a stream where he was going around some city and had like her face on a.
San Francisco was that one?
I
I
think
really
so.
liked that stream. It was because that was also like her first time that she got to be on a screen with him and not just on the Twitch screen, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. And I think they had Gunrun, who is, I know he is Iron Mouse's boss. Think I don't know if he is like the owner of the shoujo or what exactly he does, but he was there too. Have you tried out watching any VTubers?
I watched a few of them. What am I doing here?
I think my favorite Hololive one is Kobo. I love watching Kobo, even though I can only watch some of Kobo's stream because Kobo is from Indonesia. So, like the other night, I was just tired and just put on her stream, even though she was not speaking any English at all. It was just fun listening to her.
I'm trying to see who.
You'd probably like Lord Aethelstein. He's on Twitch. A lot of the Hololive and Niji Sanji you'll find on YouTube, and then V Shoujo and a lot of indies are on Twitch. Nanners is on right now. What's Nanners up to? I missed Shy Lily today because I chose to watch Magni instead, but Shy Lily was playing Sonic Forces as well.
Ellie whoever her name is. I said there's a streamer I follow called Ellie, ELLYEN. She's a VTuber.
Click. I want to see if I recognize her. I don't recognize the name off the top of my head.
Oh, I guess I'm gonna bring it up in this.
I made a tweet.
Snuffy's playing
awesome.
Sonic. Apricot Fruit's been doing a subathon on day 17. Goodness.
Channels.
Haruka's on. Bo Sheep is on. Bo Sheep, they're cute.
Her.
No, oh, oops. I'm looking at the wrong screen.
And then I'm gonna say, oh yeah, I have to. Caster has something to show me today, but I'm just gonna say.
I think she's the only VTuber. Oh,
next.
Mute that.
I follow a couple of voice actor YouTubers. Caden has become a YouTuber. A VTuber, dang it. Not YouTuber, VTuber. If you want to go support her.
These are all people I follow.
I've just been trying to get people
are.
on. Oh, hey. Been working on trying to get people hooked onto VTubers, even though it's really not that hard. Everyone at least has one that they like.
I think Neckard would count as a VTuber. He covers League of Legends stuff. But he shows his face, but he also has a little avatar he uses from time to time.
Recently, Lord Aethelstein, Aethel started doing that where he'll go back and forth between his actual they call them flesh tubers. when they
Mhm.
show themselves, and then VTuber models whenever. So yeah, there are people that do that too.
And here's Blake's. St. Winston.
How often does he stream?
His next
Hold
stream
on.
will be November 9th.
Hold on.
Tomorrow.
Don't move from that. I need to keep his name on the screen
Ah.
so I get it right.
He's a variety streamer.
I don't know if I'll catch it, but I like to follow friends if I can. Oh, I keep forgetting Gotham Knights is a thing. Is that on Steam?
Yep.
I should add that to my wish list. Gotham Knights. Oh, look, it's already on there. I guess I forgot I put it on there.
They haven't streamed in forever, but they're on tour right now.
Who's it?
Planet Boogie.
I didn't know they streamed stuff.
They did at the height of the
I knew
pandemic.
they did I knew they did for during the pandemic. I totally didn't know if they were still doing it.
I wonder if they have any. They don't have any emotes. I'll subscribe to them just for random emotes that they would have.
They probably need to be streaming a certain amount of time. Barry. I see Barry. Barry is streaming Sonic.
Yes. And then there's Endemos.
Indy Mouse? That's
Yeah.
how I read it, but I don't know.
Yeah,
for
that's
sure
how it's pronounced. It's just, I was watching a video from Civvy11 on YouTube, and he just recently did a playthrough of, well, he did a review of Fear, and he called out Indy Mouse and said his name that way, and I was like, what the heck? But I think those two are really the only two.
I haven't thought about Trisha in a long time. How's Trisha doing? I'm curious.
She streams almost daily.
Oh,
Talking
cool.
about games and other tech information.
That's cool. I'm glad to know that she's still doing stuff online. Who's that? Who's BB Jess?
Twitch Women's Alliance, born at a very young age. I don't know. I was given a random subscription to her at one point in time, and I just kind of followed her. And
Sometimes when you're in someone's stream, like just at the right time, you can, especially if people do random gift subs.
it was completely went random. I woke up to it, and I was like, "Who is this?" All right, whatever. Yeah, I don't follow that many people. I thought I did.
I'm surprised SourceFed's still on your list. How long since they since they streamed?
I don't know. A long time
And I
ago.
know Mark uses YouTube, so he probably hadn't streamed.
He was
streamed in
streaming
a while.
like a few weeks ago.
I thought he just did YouTube streaming.
Now him, Bob Wade, we're doing a stream to promote something.
If you go to schedule, you can find out how long since SourceFed did anything. It has been 8 years. Jesus, has it really been that long already?
Yeah.
When did they go under? Was it 8 years ago? It wasn't 8 years ago. It was less than that.
Yeah, it was less than that.
Hmm.
Yeah, okay. I say a while back. It was 24 days ago. His last stream. Yeah, him, Bob, and Wade were.
Wonder where Jack's gonna stream. Well, I guess he uses Twitch mostly. Because he's got his big stream coming up. The holiday stream.
Oh yeah, I saw him promoting that on YouTube the other day.
Like yesterday, day before, something like that.
Yep.
Okay, I need to stop talking and go eat because I am really hungry.
Well, go eat. I'm in
All right.
stream, and I'm
Lots
gonna
of
take me a
fun.
shower.
Tell Cassie and your mom I said hi.
I'll tell them.
I'll talk to you later.
All right. Adios.
Bye.